Should I register for VAT? That is today's question, brought to you by Google's Bookkeepers. If you like the channel and the content, please do subscribe, like and share. So VAT, general overview. Let me give you a general overview of VAT, what it's all about. So it's a tax. Yeah, VAT stands for value added tax. Many people would question where the value is. I don't know, but that's what it stands for. It's a tax on goods and services. There are three rates, mainly standard rate of 20%, the reduced rate of 5%, and a zero or exempt rate. And they mean different things, but they're both at 0%. So if you're registered for VAT, normally it's at the standard rate and it's 20%. Now, who should register for VAT? If you are supplying a VATable goods or service, because not all goods and services are VATable, then and your sales turnover is 85,000 in any 12-month period, then you should register for VAT. Not should, but you must. Actually, you must register for VAT. Now, I say in any 12-month period, so if you keep an eye on your sales. If you're nudging up towards that threshold and you look like you're about to go through it, start looking into the registration process. Any 12-month period, not your financial year, just any 12-month rolling period. And that's what the limit is, the VAT registration limit is at the moment in the year to 2021. They normally increase it each year. So, just keep an eye on that. So when I say a VATable goods or service, not all goods and services are VATable. So for example, an exempt example is books. So books are not VATable. So if you're selling books and your turnover is still that, you would register, but you wouldn't be charging VAT on books. Now, how often should you be filling out a VAT return? By far, the most common time frame for people is quarterly, meaning every 3 months you fill out a VAT return. But for some people, they do it monthly, especially if there tends to be a lot of claims from HMRC. If you're getting money back a lot, then that tends to be monthly because it helps your cash flow. And for some businesses that aren't, that busy, they don't have that many invoices, there's not a lot going on, they can apply and just to fill out their VAT return annually. And I would strongly encourage you, if your business isn't very busy and, filling out a VAT return is a bit of a pain, just apply to be able to fill it out annually, and it will just be a lot more easier for you on the administration. How's it calculated? Well, you take the VAT on your sales, known as your output tax. You deduct VAT that you've suffered, that you've incurred on your purchases, known as your input tax. So output tax minus input tax, that gives you your VAT. Generally, if you're in a business that is charging VAT at 20% and your sales are higher than your purchases, that's for hopefully the most of us, the vast majority of people, then there will be a balance, and that is the VAT that you've collected that you need to pay over to the HMRC. Now, do you have to register when you get to the 85,000 limit? Yes, you do, if you're supplying a VATable goods or service. For some people, though, they want to register beforehand. Yes, you're allowed to do that. You could be turning over £40,000. You're doing a service, let's say you're a gardener, and you want to register for VAT. Not a problem, you can do. But why might you do that? Well, you've got to think carefully about it. If you're not at the threshold and it's not mandatory, just think carefully about why you might or may not register for VAT. So because you've got to always think of your customers. So taking my example, say you are a gardener and you thought, right, I'm going to register for VAT because I'm buying lots of equipment and materials and I want to be able to claim the VAT back. That's great, fantastic. However, It makes your service 20% more expensive because you've got to now add on VAT to your goods and services. And if the person who you're selling to can claim that back because they're registered, then it's not a problem, it's fine. But if they're not registered and now your service is all of a sudden 20% more expensive, you may lose a few customers over it. So it can make your service more expensive to your customers if they're not registered for VAT. It could be a benefit though, why you might register for VAT prematurely, let's call it, because you can look bigger than what you actually are. So people might think, oh, they're turning over at least 85,000. Oh, okay. That might be beneficial to you, to who you're selling to. So think about that. And there is more information on the government website, .gov.uk. So here's an example then of why you must register or not register. So let's just say your turnover was 85,000 in annual sales. Any 12-month period, you've hit the 85,000 mark, you've got no choice, you have to register. Now, if you're below, you've got a choice. So as I say, who are your customers? Think about that. And this is what I was explaining. You can look bigger than what you are because people assume that's what your turnover is, and you can claim back any costs, any purchases that have VAT on it, you can claim that back. But there is the drawback of now this additional admin, whether it's a quarterly, monthly return, normally quarterly, more admin there. And you must, not that you shouldn't do it anyway, but you have to keep receipts, specifically VATable receipts, so that if you were ever unlucky enough to be picked on to have an inspection, you can say, yep, I've been claiming VAT on this, this and this. Here's the evidence of the receipt that's got VAT on it, and I've claimed the right amount. So this is the thing. So if you're a gardener, in my example, if your customers are generally Mr. and Mrs. Blogs living on the street, these are individual people, they're not going to be registered for VAT. So if you go and register for VAT early, your services is going to cost them 20% more and they can't claim it back. Whereas if your customers were some hotel or something, some big chain or some business, and you're doing their landscaping and they are registered for VAT, then if you charge them VAT, not a problem, they can claim it back. So you want to, not cause your customers more money if you can help it. Here is just an example of an invoice. So when you are VAT registered, you need to just make sure that you always break down the date of the invoice, your VAT registration number, your company VAT registration number that's given to you, and on an invoice you put the total, or rather subtotal, you break down what the VAT is, and then you give them the total that you want with the VAT. So in this case, if you were sending out this invoice, in reality your money is only £200. The £40 would go to the government. So just to reiterate, you do not get to keep any of the VAT money. The VAT money is not your money, it belongs to the government. So if you register for VAT, all you're basically doing is becoming a collector of taxes for the government. You're collecting the tax from your customers and paying it over, and if you suffer it on your purchases, you get to claim that back. But again, you've paid it out, you've got it back, so you're no better off. So that isn't this thing that means that somehow or other you've got more money. No, that money belongs to the government, it does not belong to you. And likewise, if you're sending out an invoice with VAT on it, if you're registered for VAT and you are getting bills from your suppliers, you just have to make sure that it's got the right, correct information on it. If you're not registered for VAT and you get an invoice like this, the amount that's relevant to you is £240, because if you're not registered for VAT, you cannot claim it back. So just ignore the 200, ignore the VAT. Just if you're not registered for VAT, your cost is 240, and that's the end of it. Just like if you're not registered for VAT, when you send out an invoice, you just send out an invoice for 200. That's got nothing to do with you if you're not registered for it. Just be aware, you need a VAT number. Normally begins with GB, so just be looking out for these. And it is a 9-digit number, but there is actually a calculator online where if you suspect someone is giving you an invoice which has got VAT on it and you're thinking looks a bit dodgy, there is this calculator or checker, a VAT checker online on the government website, so that you can type in a VAT registration number and just check is it valid or not. So you can do that. Now, VAT deadlines. If you are on a quarterly VAT, which most people are, let's say, and it can run any 3 months, it can run January, February, March, it could run February, March, April, it could run April, May, June. It doesn't matter, it's on any 3 month rolling period. Let's just say that the period in question is January to March, so it'll be the 1st of January to the 31st of March. So you need to record all of your income and all of your expenses in that 3 month period. You have 1 month and 1 week at the end of the period in which to file your VAT. So if you were running from January to March, you've got till the end of April, which is 1 month, and then 1 week to the first week of May, so to the 7th of May, to file your VAT return. And these days everything's done online, they will expect you to file it online. And then if you pay by direct debit, which is the better way, more convenient way to pay, then you have an extra 7 or so days. So they'll normally take the direct debit normally between the 10th and the 12th of the month. So even if you file it and you're paying by direct debit, even if you file it on the 5th of April, doesn't matter when, they'll take the direct debit on the 12th of May. So you don't have to leave it right till the very end. You can get it out the way early. And you file online via your accounting software. These days they want everything done online. It used to be you just logged in and put in your figures, but now it's like, no, use your software, connect your software to HMRC and let your software push through the actual figures. And you will need to have created a username and password on the HMRC website, but no doubt you'll have that anyway when you actually registered to file that in the first place. So there is a little process. You create your username and password and you must activate the service before you can actually use it, and generally they send you out an activation code in the post. So that is registering for VAT, quick overview. Any other questions you've got on the topic, please just email admin@booglsltd.com. Hope that was useful. Please do subscribe, like and share the channel if you find the content useful.